The Hollywood Reporter and Amazon Studios present Making the Ricardos podcast, Episode 1, The Icon with Nicole Kidman.
My first question is really straightforward. I wanted to ask you if you watched I Love Lucy growing up and what your relationship with the show was.
I watched it where I would turn it on and it would be on reruns, but I wasn't of the generation where we were actually watching the show. But I, of course, knew who she was. When I got asked to do the role, I started to really delve into it and realized what a genius she was. I mean, comic genius, but also in terms of how smart she was, what she was up against, the way in which she could change. I mean, she had so many things that went wrong and failures that she then turned into successes. And her resilience and what she and Desi did together, this is a story that needs to be told. And that's, I think, what drew Aaron Sorkin to it. And Aaron says no to everything. But it was a fantastic read, the script. And a lot of times you'll read a script and it'll be like, oh, right, I can see how this is going to get better and we'll work on that. I mean, that is not the case with a Sorkin screenplay. You just go, whew, I hope I can reach the bar that he's setting.
I did actually want to ask about one of the scenes, and it's the first sort of third of the movie, at the table read scene. And it's one of my favorite scenes. It sort of brought to bear a lot of Lucy's feminism and her creative vision. And I wanted to ask about how that scene went and was sort of how you prepared for that, because it really did feel like, it was...
Which one? There were a lot of table reads.
The initial table read scene.
Right, at the beginning.
Going through the beginning.
Right.
Sort of Lucille bringing this creative vision to bear and seeing that women shouldn't be just props, right? They can hear people coming into the room. They can sort of interact with their surroundings.
Yeah. I think you see, and this is what I think was such a beautiful way of honoring her talent, is she always said, I'm not funny. As Lucille Ball, I'm not funny. I created Lucy and I do things that are funny, but it's because I work on them. They're detailed. They're all about timing. They're about great writing and then rewriting and finding the joke. And that is a fantastic thing to show because it looks effortless, and it so wasn't. And then the relationship between Desi and Lucille and the way in which they created this show that was just a mega hit, but really changed the landscape of television, how you shoot television. Desi was so, instrumental in changing how we as an audience receive our television shows. And that's why it's ingenious how Aaron starts the script with 60 million people watched the show. 60 million. And he puts that in perspective, what that means today. And that, literally they wouldn't use as much water during the hour the show was on. Across America. That's crazy. So those things, but then they were the first real production company as well that they created and the Lucy Show was only one of the shows that they did. As a businesswoman, she was a trailblazer. I didn't know that. And it's inspiring not only to me, but I think to a new generation of women. And she also carved the way for the next generation of comedians. They love her. Women comedians, they love her because she was a extraordinary, gifted clown that could also do fast repartee and was a worker, a hard worker.
I did want to ask about Lucy's role as a feminist trailblazer and bringing sort of a new vision of women as both physical comedians, media moguls, production leaders, and what it meant to play a role like that.
It was fascinating to me because I didn't know that was what she was capable of. I thought, okay, you do the I Love Lucy show. And Lucy was a character that she created. Lucille created her. She wasn't Lucy. That was not who she was. And when you delve into her trajectory to get where she was, that's so inspiring. I think it's inspiring to see how many times she would pick herself up and move forward, how much Desi believed in her and believed in her talent, and how she believed in him, and the way they were this fantastic creative team. They obviously romantically were crazy about each other, and they had enormous problems in their marriage. And that's what creates the drama. And then you have also this group of actors that are putting on a show. So the way he's woven all of those storylines together, and her relationship with those actors, Desi's relationship with the studio, Desi's relationship with how do you keep this power and keep moving it forward and not get eaten alive. I love that she was a woman that didn't get eaten alive by the system. She actually helped create a new system.
Absolutely, and you see that. I mean, and you see that, and you know, when she gets pregnant in real life, and she has to navigate how that looks to the studio, when the studio is saying absolutely not, we can't put a pregnant woman on TV.
No.
I mean, these are fights that people still have now, but she created this new paradigm where it's like, we can talk about this now. We can sort of bring
Desi,
this.
he was like, "This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do the show," and everyone's like, "What?" But yeah, and it's so inspiring because this is what is the norm. Well, we're going to change that. We're actually going to move the needle on that. And they both don't get enough credit for that. I love that when she says, "Oh, I'll do the show, but you have to cast my husband." And not because he's my husband, but because we have great chemistry. He's so talented and he deserves the role. And she comes up against a massive wall and she goes, "Okay, well, you don't get me then." And I just love the way she was able to negotiate, the way he negotiated, and the way they also just had pure talent that they protected. And were able to have a show that now we all watch and still gives us joy. That is so hard to do. And to make people laugh it looks easy, crazy difficult.
Especially 60 million people every week.
Yeah, and every week, as she says, this is what I have to do every week. But the script is so layered because it's also, there's a monologue in it that Aaron wrote that's about, I created this show because I wanted to spend time with Desi. I wanted us to have fun. And now this actually is the life that I want that I don't have. That's all very complicated, very cognizant of her to realize it, very sad and poignant. And there's so many scenes like that. You have the scenes between Nina and I. She's playing Vivian Vance, and they, as even though they're only grabs through the film, they're so rich. You know, the scene where Frawley and I sit at a bar and he talks to me about how to handle my husband and how I manage being so powerful yet still letting him feel like he's a part of it. It's incredible the way he has threaded this needle, Aaron, and I hope people see it not just once but a couple of times because it's very, very textured and layered.
Absolutely.
All his writing.
I wanted to go back to what you were saying about Lucy's desire to bring Desi into the show, sort of this fearlessness that she had about talking to a lot of rooms dominated by men and bringing her vision to bear. How does that legacy of fearlessness come into today's entertainment industry?
What do you mean?
Sort of, what does that feminist through line from Lucy lead to now? Where are there fights still happening that she was fighting? Are there issues that she was dealing that are still happening now?
I mean, it's interesting because, yeah, it's a very relevant story. My husband actually saw the film and he was like, it's not a period film. Even though it's set in the 50s, it doesn't feel like a period film. It feels very relevant, which is what Aaron's able to do. I mean, he's able to bring the past and show us now, or show us how someone was navigating exactly the same things. But it's also about love. That's what the film is, it's sort of, hopefully there's warmth to it because there was enormous love for what they did for each other, for their fellow actors, for their craft, and their children, and that's that's hard to do in a film. It's 2 hours. Yeah, it's not a mini series. It's not a limited series. This is a 2-hour window that you have to bring all of these themes in, and that's where, as we say, the Sorkin magic comes into play. And then these actors that came in and just were like, they brought it. And that's also, Aaron knew who to cast, how to cast. They all said yes. He was like, he really does just take it and go, this is what I want.
There's this amazing sort of galaxy of characters interacting with each other, and those relationships are so...
Tony Hale, Tony Hale, the king of comedy, I call him. I'm like, I'm acting opposite you. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I love you. I cannot act opposite this man because she's his dance partner, And so suddenly I was his dance partner. But he's every single actor, I think there was such an ensemble here. And we were all terrified, and we were all sweating bullets, and we were all having the time of our lives and trying to deliver.
This is the first time that Lucy's gotten the big screen treatment. I mean, was there some pressure on you for bringing this seminal character to life?
There was apparently a lot of pressure. I didn't realize when I said yes. I was like, yes, I'd love to, Aaron. I've always wanted to work with you. And then I'm like, yikes, what did I say yes to? But then I said yes to exploring a really complicated, extraordinary woman. Wow. And I would have really been upset if I had run away frightened, because I love her and she's in me. I feel her now. I feel very close to her family. I feel very close to her, and Harvey has said this too. And we would literally sort of ask for their blessings before we went on a lot of times, because it was like we felt like we were skating on thin ice, where we were like, is it going to crack at any minute? What's going to happen here? But that's kind of the set that Aaron runs as well. So there's an energy, a crackling energy to everything, which is, probably his theatre background. Yeah. Where he's like, it's a show. Do it. Go, 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 go. And that's a fantastic discipline as an actor as well.
Working out that tension between both the characters and everything else happening.
Living with the fear, having that dialogue so that it is like rapid fire out of your mouth, knowing every single word, punctuation, every single pause, everything. You honor all of it, you learn it, you know it, and then you imbue it with humanity.
One scene that stood out to me, especially from the writing and your delivery of it, was in the scene in the RKO head of production office where Lucy says, the RKO head of production says, you're 39. And she says, what? The 39-year-olds don't go to your movies?
Yeah.
They don't want to see themselves when they go to these places. I mean, it's such a... Again, your husband's saying...
She bought the studio. They fired her, and then she bought the studio. Yeah. No. Come on. Now that's what we're talking about. But... there's so many, it's so rich in the way, but he always does it like he has those great, he can undercut it with humor. He can make it funny. It still has edge to it, and it's still saying something. But as Javier and I said, we so want the love that these two people have to constantly shine through. Because, the relationship was really complicated. In the end, it didn't work out, but a lot of things did work out with it. And they created beautiful things together. And they have those two amazing children and this extraordinary work that still exists in the world today.
Why do you think both...
That's fabulous. I love it. I love that.
And it comes through. It shines through on screen, very obviously. I wanted to ask why you think both Lucille, the person, and I Love Lucy have such a lasting legacy. And there seems to be so much sort of influence from it.
Talent, magic, meant to be, but pure talent. I mean, she was really, really gifted. And she never gave up. Never gave up. And as Desi says, you should be a star. You have kinetic energy. She had kinetic energy. I love that line. What a beautiful thing to say to her. And she was just like, you can see me. You actually see who I am and what I'm capable of. You're going to believe in me. And then, you know, at the same time, wanting her to succeed, but not wanting to lose her. It's all those wonderful human virtues and flaws that we have, you know. And also it was so beautiful when I was watching the way in which, when I was studying the show and I was working on her voice, and Aaron wanted me to have a much lower voice as Lucille. And then I was like, but I gotta have Lucy's voice. And how it was so far out of reach when I started. I was working with a dialect coach, Tom Jones, who's just divine. And he said, we're gonna get there. You're gonna feel your way into this. I can just tell. And he started to shape me through my jaw and the way in which I moved. And I would just listen and listen and watch her and watch her. And now she can come. She just comes. I mean, literally, I couldn't get anywhere near her voice or her movements. Her hands were very important to her. And the way in which she moved her hands, she's the most beautiful hands. And that was all so far out of reach. And then as it slowly, it was such a good lesson as an actor, where you just do the work. You do it gently to start, methodically, and then it will come. But you got to put the time in. You're not going to fast forward this stuff. And luckily, you know, it was a pandemic. I'm sitting around at home. I have a lot of time. My kids watching me going, nope, I still don't believe it. Nope, Mom, no. And I'd have the show on and I'd be doing the actual scenes in front of the television with them watching. And they were either thumbs up or thumb down. But that's how I sort of, you know, started. But it was so freeing. I don't move like her. So to learn how to move like that and use your body like that, it was just glorious. So grateful to her. She still keeps giving. Right?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Lucy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. She's still around. It feels like the
she
waves
keeps
are
giving.
still here.
They keep giving.
Absolutely. Nicole, thank you so much for making the time
Thank
for us.
you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank
This
you.
is great.
Thank you for listening to Making the Ricardos. Be sure to subscribe to hear our upcoming episodes and go see Being the Ricardos in theaters now and on Amazon Prime starting December 21st.